It would be incredibly rude of me to begin this video without stating that bungee gum possesses the properties of both gum and rubber. Yes, in this video I will be analysing my first HunterXHunter character, and I wanted to begin with an impactful and memorable character like Hisoka Morow. Hopefully through this video you will have a better understanding of Hisoka, revealing some of the alluring mystery behind his character, in the hopes that you may understand the reasoning behind his sadistic actions, compulsive lies, and his creepy attraction towards those who he deems to have great potential. Hisoka first appears in Chapter 5 and in Episode 3 of the 2011 anime. He is very manipulative and takes action only if it benefits himself, highlighting his self-absorbed nature. His appearance closely resembles that of a clown or a jester. We see Hisoka referred to as the Magician in Chapter 5 when he makes his first appearance in the Hunter exam arc. During his first appearance, he leaves a lasting impression as the 44th applicant of the Hunter exam. In his first appearance, another applicant is seen to have accidentally bumped into Hisoka without apologizing to him. He lives up to the title of the Magician as he cuts off the applicant's arms, leaving them nowhere to be seen, as he says, "Now you see them and now you don't." This is a cruel, unforgiving act disguised as a magic trick, an overblown reaction to something as little as bumping into someone without apologizing to them. He advises the individual to be more careful, stating that he should have apologized when he bumped into him. He completely disregards the fact that the person is on his knees crying out in pain. Under that level of distress, Hisoka's words would fall upon deaf ears, but he demonstrates how little he cares for others and continues to scold the naive applicant. This is the first time that we and the main cast of HunterXHunter are introduced to Hisoka. Following this, we learn that Hisoka had taken part in the Hunter exam the year prior. He was a favorite to pass, but he attacked an examiner who he had a disagreement with, causing him to be disqualified. Hisoka was not banned from entering again the following year with Gon and the others though. The year before he had killed 20 other exam applicants. Gon and company are advised to steer clear from him. Hisoka is impactfully introduced as one of the early sinister figures within the HunterXHunter universe. Togashi in 2 manga pages establishes Hisoka as the main antagonist of the Hunter exam arc. During these 2 pages, he cuts off the arms of an applicant, and then he has his reputation described to us, as we understand how much of a threat he could pose to our protagonist. He derives pleasure and enjoyment from battle. He is driven by his bloodlust. His insatiable desire to battle powerful opponents can be likened to Kenpachi Zaraki or Goku and Vegeta. Hisoka appears to sadistic battle, similar to how Kenpachi laughs when he is attacked in Bleach. He also spares the lives of Gon and Killua so that they may grow up and reach their full potential in order to battle them at their best. There are several instances throughout their encounters where Hisoka could have killed them easily, but he controls his urges so that he may gain more pleasure from a longer, more challenging battle in the future. Because of his unique personality, he is easily excited by opponents who show incredible potential for battle. Battling powerful Nen users and being taken to the brink of death during battle makes Hisoka feel the most ecstasy and pleasure. He does, however, lose interest very quickly if his opponents that he has dreamt about battling fail to live up to his expectations or they die prematurely at his hands. He is like a child who is obsessed with a new toy. He obsesses over it until it totally loses its appeal through being broken or becoming boring. He also has a very simplistic motive. His driving motivation is to gain pleasure from battling strong opponents. His frightening bloodlust is what leads him to deceptively become a member of one of the most dangerous organizations in the world in order to fight against their leader, Chrollo Lucifer. He hunts him down across the world in order to have a battle against him, demonstrating his devotion to his self-consuming desires. This is one element behind why Hisoka is such a great and memorable character. His desire is well established and his actions consistently line up with his addiction to battling strong opponents. He behaves unapologetically and clearly embraces his sadistic, disturbing, and creepy nature. Most characters in fictional works have a motivation or a driving factor. This could be an external surface level desire to want something, or a desire to make an outward change in the world, demonstrated through an internal desire to alter their surroundings or help others around them. This type of desire stems from a deep internal need for change which excels beyond a superficial want. Hisoka is selfishly driven by his superficial outward desires. He is in pursuit of the adrenaline rush and pleasure that he gets from his desires. In his first appearance, a parallel is drawn between the devil and Hisoka, as it is stated that the devil himself can pass the Hunter exam if the examiners deem it to be okay. This line is mentioned to justify the cruel actions of Hisoka, explaining how he was allowed to enter the Hunter exam despite being evil and killing or injuring other applicants. The devil is known to have been consumed by his own selfish desires, so much so that he is said meant to activate the selfish desires within the hearts of people. This explains why Hisoka feels rather devilish and oozes an air of sinister malice. His selfish nature perfectly complements the devil. The philosophy that Hisoka leads his life with is clearly to seek as much pleasure as he can within the present moment, similar to an individual at an all-you-can-eat buffet, desiring to satiate their selfish desires through immediate gratification and pleasure. Having basically introduced the key elements of Hisoka's character, let's now take our attention over to what we know about his past, his relationships with certain characters in the series, and further dissecting his actions in the series to better understand his character. Very little is revealed about Hisoka's past in the HunterXHunter manga, but we do learn some information about him from chapter 55 after Hisoka's arms are reattached by Mochi. We learned that the name bungee gum was taken from Hisoka's childhood as it was his favorite brand of chewing gum. In chapter 78, Hisoka meets Kurapika in order to tell him everything that he knows about the Phantom Troop. We learned that a couple of years prior to the York New City arc, Hisoka killed the previous fourth member of the troop. He did so in order to fight against the leader of the organization, Chrollo Lucifer. However, he states that this has been a difficult task to accomplish. What adds to the mystery of Hisoka's character is that we do not know much about his past, because he is uninterested in speaking of it, and for this reason we rarely hear him mention his past. I am aware that a prequel one-shot titled Hisoka's Past was written and illustrated by Sui Ishida, the creator of Tokyo Ghoul. Whether if it is canon or not remains to be confirmed, so for that reason I have only mentioned events relating to Hisoka's past which were specifically mentioned within the manga. He is also known to be incredibly deceptive, fabricating or muddling the truth with falsehoods, sometimes to benefit himself and other times for no apparent reason. This trait complements how he utilizes his abilities, as Hisoka outwardly appears to be conjuring magic, but in actual fact he is deceiving his opponent with his Nen abilities. It is for this reason that he is known as the Magician. He utilizes his ability called Texture Surprise for deception. He can apply his aura to flat, smooth surfaces, causing images to appear on them, or to change the appearance and texture of the surfaces in order to deceive his opponents. His ability is so effective he uses it to deceive even the members of the Phantom Troop, using it to wear a fake spider tattoo on his back, symbolizing his ranking and membership within the troop. We see him peel his fake tattoo off in chapter 55, revealing to us his ulterior motives and lack of loyalty towards the troop. In chapter 357, we see Hisoka use Texture Surprise with bungee gum, using it to alter his physical appearance. Also, after Hisoka's battle with Castro, he has his arms reattached and uses his ability Texture Surprise to make it appear as though his arms were magically reattached, instead of being stitched back together by Mochi. Hisoka battles against Castro from chapters 52 to 54. Through this battle, we understand how fickle Hisoka truly is. In his past, Hisoka defeated Castro but spared his life in order to allow him to live up to his full potential. Initially, he takes the lead and scores 4 points against Hisoka. He demands that Hisoka takes this battle seriously, saying that he is no longer the same person from 2 years ago who was defeated by him, but Hisoka tells him that he will decide when he will get serious, as he lets Castro go on the offensive. After Castro severs his right arm and threatens to cut off his left arm, Hisoka then entertains the thought about getting serious. Despite having his arm cut off, he is so calm and still behaving superior to Castro. He even performs a magic trick to further frustrate him. Hisoka offers his left arm up to be severed next, much to everyone's surprise, but all he is actually proving is that Castro has wasted his potential and has not lived up to Hisoka's expectations. He is willing to humiliate Castro and prove how he squandered the past 2 years by defeating him without using his arms. He states how it is a shame as he had so much talent, that's why he spared his life before, but he predicts now that Castro will dance himself to death. He punches Castro's chin with his severed arm, stunning him, and pierces his body with a deck of cards as he collapses to the ground and dies. He quickly forgets about Castro and discards his memory of him, all of the patient build-up and interest gone in a split second. Hisoka says this himself, that treasure can become garbage within an instant according to his eyes. His encounter with Castro serves to demonstrate the extent of his fickle nature. Let's now analyze Hisoka's relationship with Gon. In chapter 27, during the 4th phase of the Hunter exam, Hisoka challenges the Oreo and Kurapika for their badges. He politely asks them to hand theirs over, but they refuse. They offer him a 1-pointer badge, which is of no concern to either of them. The badge is not Hisoka's target, so he isn't interested in it either. Gon is tailing Hisoka as he is his target. He watches his friends as they talk their way out of battling Hisoka, who in turn is impressed with how much they have progressed in such a short span of time. He does comment on how they still have a long way to go, stating that unripe fruit always has a particular appeal. We see the extent of Hisoka's bloodlust as he gets excited thinking about how strong they will become at their full potential. We see this sinister dark sketch of Hisoka which reveals to us the evil side of himself. It is enough to frighten Gon from afar, who feels uncomfortable after feeling his bloodlust. Gon even correctly assesses that Hisoka's bloodlust has gone, but the expression on his face reveals the lingering effects of it. He realizes that the next person that he comes into contact with, he will attack even if they surrender themselves. So he decides to go ahead of Hisoka and track down the next person that he would encounter, in order to wait for an opening where he can take his badge. Gon studies Hisoka and proves himself as a hunter, as he correctly guesses that Hisoka would be so caught up in the effects of his bloodlust, he will leave himself wide open to have his badge taken away from him. Hisoka congratulates Gon for patiently waiting for the right opportunity and striking at the precise moment he attacked someone else. He admires the potential of his prey and really refrains from killing them before they can mature into worthy adversaries. He continues to praise Gon, saying that his stalking technique was a work of art, and the way that he suppressed his bloodlust was masterful, so as to not alert Hisoka that he was being tailed. Hisoka is merciful enough to leave his badge behind for Gon, who refuses to accept his charity. Despite being administered a muscle relaxant which takes 10 days for the effects to wear off, Gon struggles to stand up in order to return Hisoka's badge to him. However, Hisoka is surprised and once again suppresses his insatiable bloodlust. Knowing of the monstrous potential that Gon possesses, he decides not to battle him so early on. He admits that his desire is to let Gon live until he becomes a worthy opponent. Hisoka punches Gon and suggests that unless he can punch him back with the same strength, only then will he take the badge back. He is so intrigued by Gon and Killua's potential, when he is interviewed by Netero, he requests that he does not want to fight against them in the final phase of the Hunter exam. Hisoka meets Gon again during the Heaven's Arena arc in chapter 47. He reveals to them that he was following them, assuming that they would come to the Heaven's Arena. He uses his Ren to prevent them from entering the 200th floor until they are ready, as fighters above this floor all use Nen. He appears to be guiding them to learn Nen, appearing to be protecting them, but in actual fact he desires for them to return after they have learned how to use Nen so that he may assess their progress. In chapter 59, Hisoka deems Gon worthy to battle against, and their highly anticipated battle begins in chapter 61. Hisoka is excited by the determination in Gon's eyes. His ominous aura is intimidating, but doesn't seem to shake Gon's resolve. Initially, Hisoka is on the defensive as Gon unleashes a barrage of attacks. He is avoiding each and every attack with the same calm expression on his face, scoffing at how Gon is leaving himself wide open for attack, as he too begins to strategically counter-attack, which Gon narrowly avoids. As to be expected, Hisoka is the first to land an attack after Gon tries to uppercut him, but leaves the side of his body exposed for attack. Gon's persistence is captivating, and the fact that Hisoka gives him this opportunity to battle against him so that he can see the difference between their powers says a lot about his character and his desires, which I spoke about earlier. It is like he is helping Gon for the sake of battling Gon at a later stage when he is more experienced and stronger. He is willing to now patiently entertain a younger Gon who is clearly overruled by his emotions, inexperienced, and yet has a lot to learn until he is able to challenge Hisoka as an equal. This battle between the two of them is one of my favorite battles within HunterXHunter, primarily because of how fluid it is, how the characters seamlessly transition between being offensive to defensive. You see it as Gon attacks and Hisoka blocks. Gon flips and bounces back like an elastic band, attacking with a barrage of attacks, but once again Hisoka lands a clear hit on Gon's face when he counterattacks, and Gon is caught off guard by a feint. The gap between their skill level is further emphasized when Hisoka reveals that he has not moved from the spot that he started the battle in. As we focus so much on Gon darting and racing around, even I forgot to pay attention to Hisoka's position and his frightening full potential he is suppressing in order to properly assess Gon's progression. Killua, watching the battle, even realizes that Hisoka is having fun and toying around with Gon. However, he does also mention that despite the difference in their abilities, Hisoka's weakness is his sense of superiority, which leads him to stay in one position, not backing away from Gon's persistent barrage of attacks. Gon may not be able to win, but he can take advantage of this trait that Hisoka possesses in order to obtain a couple of points against him. Hisoka is caught off guard by Gon when he iconically flips a stone tile in front of Hisoka, shattering it and leaving him looking around the rubble wondering where Gon has disappeared to. He strategically hides behind the rubble to position himself into Hisoka's blind spot, and finally returns the punch that Hisoka gave to him in the Hunter exam arc. This moment also confirms Killua's assessment of Hisoka's superiority. Hisoka takes his first step since the battle began as Gon returns to him his charity from the prior arc, returning his number 44 badge. He correctly analyzes Gon's Nen type as an enhancer, describing that Nen aura are affected by the personality of an individual, and that enhancers are simple and determined, which sums up Gon's personality. We also learn that Hisoka is a transmuter, describing his own personality to be whimsical and that of a liar. He is the polar opposite of Gon, stating that opposites attract and that they could be great friends, but warning him to be also careful as transmuters are fickle. And as we know, Hisoka definitely possesses this personality trait, as he loses interest if his prey fails to live up to his expectations. manifestations of their full potential. He doesn't want Gon to disappoint him, sparing his life time and time again, resisting his urges to kill him, which are derived from his monstrous bloodlust. Once Hisoka decides to get serious, the battle between them is pretty one-sided, as Gon is thrown around and narrowly avoids his attacks. He taunts him to attack back, but Gon is buying time to think up of a strategy. The speed that Hisoka possesses is frightening, as he is difficult to keep up with. He forces Gon to come to him by attaching his bungee gum to his cheek, pulling him towards him in order to land a devastating punch to the frustrated Gon. Bungee gum is aura created by Hisoka, which he transmutes to become sticky and rubber in order to attach it to his prey. He reveals that he typically uses bungee gum when his opponents fail to take care or stop paying attention to him. Hisoka defeats Gon, but he resists his urges to kill him. Once again, it is Gon's persistence and the determination in his eyes which fascinate Hisoka. He desires to crush that spirit within Gon, but he tells himself to control his urges, as he has to wait until he is ready. Likening Gon to a pyramid of cards, he cannot claim his prize until the cards are stacked to their peak. He has to be patient so that he may tear down the masterpiece that Gon will grow up to become. He does, however, remind Gon that the next time that they battle, there will be no points or rules. They will fight to the death. Hisoka meets Gon again during the Greed Island arc. He has arrived to look for an exorcist for Chrollo in order to exorcise his nen in the hopes that it will free him from Kurapika's judgment chain, which is preventing the leader of the troop from using nen. This arc is a perfect example which showcases how dynamic Hisoka is as a character. In one arc he may be the primary antagonist, in another he may be the secondary antagonist, and in the Greed Island arc he serves as a supportive role for the protagonists. Gon and the others meet Hisoka in Greed Island during chapter 158. Bisky asks him to help them win against one of the game masters called Razor. He agrees to help them and thus plays his part as a support character. He notes how strong Gon and Killua have become since they last met. He does behave like a mentor of sorts towards Gon, even if his motivation is to kill him once he is stronger. He gives him tips and pointers of what to look out for and encourages him to be more cautious during battle. It adds to the complexity of his character. When he is interested in someone and they continue to fascinate him, he has the patience to show some form of compassion and mercy to them, even if it is to benefit him later on. One of the more memorable moments of the Greed Island arc is Hisoka forming the three-man formation with Gon and Killua in order to retrieve the ball from Razor during their dodgeball match. Hisoka aids them to victory as he uses his bungee gum to deflect the ball back and makes it stick to Razor's hands. The force of the deflected ball pushes him out of bounds, causing Gon and the others to be victorious. Hisoka explains to him the properties of his bungee gum, which I'm sure that all of you know by now. He breaks all of his fingers in order to help them win. Gon and Killua admit that it was Hisoka's victory, saying that he stole the show, but uncharacteristically, Hisoka says that it was thanks to everyone's efforts that they were able to win. Modesty is not suited to Hisoka's character. It doesn't fit his whimsical personality. The same person who enjoys toying with his opponents, he pretends and deceives his challengers into feeling like they are his equals before crushing them. He is rightfully confident in his own abilities, which causes him to exude an air of superiority, which is the polar opposite of this modesty he tries to pull off at the end of their dodgeball match. He is incredibly deceptive and lies frequently and is not someone to be trusted. When he leaves Gon and Killua in chapter 169, his parting words reveal that he lied to them about not knowing about spell cards. Bisky says that there are two types of liars, one who lies for a purpose, and the second who lies for the sake of lying. She describes Hisoka as the latter, as it benefits him in no way to lie about this, yet he does so, clearly demonstrating deception as a key trait of Hisoka's character. This was an example of an innocent white lie, but he is also known for crafting a web of lies which involve multiple characters who are manipulated by him to fulfill whatever his purpose is in that moment of time. So far, we have proven that he is the type of character to lie for the sake of it, so anything that he says has to be taken with a grain of salt. Even if he speaks of his past or his desires, we can never be too sure if he has any ulterior motives to his words. Hisoka does aid Gon once more during the 13th Hunter Chairman election arc. Having been off-screen during the Chimera Ant arc, we once again see Hisoka in chapter 320. Illumi tells him about the Chimera Ants, the death of Netero, and the circumstances surrounding Killua using his younger sister Aluka to heal Gon. Illumi requests Hisoka to help him to kill Aluka, due to the nature of her power being a risk to the lives of several people, including Hisoka's own life. In chapter 326, Hisoka is asked by Illumi to kill the butlers escorting Killua and Aluka to Gon. He responds by asking if he could eliminate Killua too, which causes Illumi to become infuriated, as his aura surrounds surrounds him with a killer intent, demonstrating how protective he is towards his younger brother. Hisoka calms him down by saying it was a joke, but we clearly learn that Hisoka said this one line knowing it would elicit a response from Illumi, which would alert Killua to his whereabouts, through sensing Illumi's killing aura. Despite saying that he would help Illumi, he desires for Gon to be saved, and once again proves why he cannot be trusted, as he says one thing but does another. Hisoka often reveals the traits of bungee gum to his opponents, like in chapter 327 when he battles Killua's butler Goto. He feels like he has the upper hand after Hisoka tells him about the properties of bungee gum, but he proves that it does not matter if they know of his ability or not. He distracts Goto by asking him how many of his coins will he deflect back at him. He is focused on striking down the coins, but does not notice that Hisoka is above him. He kills Goto by slicing his throat, proving that knowing the properties of bungee gum will not help you in a battle against Hisoka. So far we have discussed Hisoka's relationship with Gon, his traits, abilities and his personality. I have yet to mention the most recent battle that he was involved in, which was given almost 20 years of build-up. I want to now bring the focus of this video to Hisoka's desire to battle Chrollo Lucifer, and the lengths that he goes to in order to fight him, as well as discussing the controversial outcome of their battle, and how it affects Hisoka's character. In chapter 55, Hisoka is told by Machi that the Phantom Troop will be meeting in York New City at the end of August, and he is required to be present also. If not, he will be punished by Chrollo. In chapter 71, he meets up with the other members of the troop, as they are told to steal items from an underground auction held by the Mafia. Hisoka is a fake member of the Phantom Troop, which I have mentioned earlier. He meets with Kurapika, telling him everything that he knows about the troop. How there are 13 members in total, each has a tattoo of a spider which represents proof of their membership, also admitting to him that he joined the organization for the sole purpose of fighting against their leader Chrollo. He offers Kurapika to team up with him, since they both share a common interest to defeat Chrollo, which will put a stop to his organization. Hisoka is open and very forthcoming, trying to persuade Kurapika to join forces with him, as it is the most sensible and strategic move to make. In return for his cooperation, he is even willing to share with him information about the abilities of some of the members of the Phantom Troop. Later on, the members of the troop have their fortunes handed to them by their leader. Hisoka's fortune reveals his true intentions, also stating that he would fight Chrollo the following week, and by that time half of the Phantom Troop will be dead. When his fortune is shown to the other members, he alters it using his texture surprise, changing it to read that if he leaves the hideout he will die. They immediately detect a forgery and state that he has betrayed them. Chrollo, however, seems to have faith in him, stating that Hisoka's actions are due to the chain dude who is restricting Hisoka's actions, thus stopping him from revealing the true identity of the chain dude. Luckily, Hisoka's manipulations have succeeded, as Chrollo is convinced that something has been planted inside Hisoka to prevent him from revealing anything about their enemy. Hisoka is impressed by how Chrollo assesses the forged fortune and falls into his trap, stating that he will take great pleasure in killing him. The end of chapter 106 reveals exactly how Hisoka manipulated the members of the Phantom Troop to stay in York New City, also that he may have a chance to fight Chrollo. He risked alienating himself with the other members when they sensed that he forged his fortune, but the nuances he wrote into his forged fortune were picked up by Chrollo, thus leading him to come to the conclusion that Hisoka is being held hostage, preventing him from revealing any information about the chain dude. This demonstrates the lengths that Hisoka goes to in order to fulfill his desires. His obsessions are above everything else, even his own life. It explains why he risked everything in order to have a chance to fight against Chrollo. When he learns in chapter 115 that Chrollo has been kidnapped by Kurapika, he hires Illumi to disguise himself as his double, so that he may leave the troop's hideout in order to fight against Chrollo one-on-one. Hisoka reveals his true intentions to Chrollo in chapter 119. The whole reason that he joined the troop was to battle Chrollo. He even takes off the tattoo on his back to show he is no longer a member of the troop, so Chrollo shouldn't feel any conflicted feelings about fighting one of his own. He is disappointed when Chrollo reveals he is not worth fighting anymore because of Kurapika's judgment chain, stopping him from using Nen. He demonstrates his fickle nature once more as he immediately loses interest and leaves, saying that he is not interested in broken toys. This battle was highly anticipated and was at the back of the minds of every HunterXHunter fan, wondering what would have happened if Hisoka and Chrollo did indeed battle during the York New City arc. A lot of time has passed since this battle was at the forefront of our minds, but we do eventually see Chrollo agree agree to fight against Hisoka to the death at Heaven's Arena. This is only possible because Chrollo recruited Hisoka to go to Greed Island in order to find a Nen exorcist to remove Kurapika's judgment chain, thus restoring his powers. Hisoka gladly agreed to help as he will have the opportunity to battle against Chrollo once his powers are restored. After his Nen abilities are restored, Chrollo prepared for his inevitable encounter against Hisoka. He challenged him after acquiring new abilities. Hisoka, however, being driven by his desires, did very little to prepare. Typically, Hisoka relies on patiently watching his opponent reveal their strategy by attacking first. He sits back and analyzes their abilities and counters them once he has had an idea of the weaknesses in their approach. When he desires to fight someone, he doesn't just want to defeat them, he wishes to break them on every level, physically and psychologically. This is perfectly seen in his battle against Castro, as he allows for his arms to be cut off in order to have enough time to devise a plan to take out Castro's cloning ability. He watches Castro break down and become frustrated. He then finally puts him out of his misery by killing him after he gets his sadistic fix. The deathmatch between Hisoka and Chrollo begins in chapter 351 and concludes in chapter 357. Chrollo is tired of being pursued by Hisoka, and Hisoka does not want a childish spar. This, in every sense of the term, is a battle to the death. Hisoka comments on how Chrollo ran away after the exorcism. He understands how he has been preparing since they last met. Chrollo cautiously begins the bout by controlling the referee to act as a shield as he closes the distance to attack. Hisoka is put under pressure from the very beginning, having to think on his feet while he is defending himself. Chrollo explains an ability he learnt called Sun and Moon, Paired Destruction, which allows him to remotely detonate any target that he has touched. Chrollo's meticulous preparation is further detailed as he reveals that he can simultaneously use two abilities from his book through using a bookmark. He also reveals that he does not need to hold the book in order to use some of his acquired abilities. Hisoka reveals that he gains the most pleasure as he watches people who have prepared for battle crumble to their knees as their plans fall apart. He loves to look down upon their unbelieving faces as their hopes of winning are snatched from them. Chrollo explains his various different abilities he has acquired and claims that victory is certain for him, but Hisoka does not concede. His opponent is using a mixture of abilities: Black Voice to manipulate targets to attack, Convert Hands to hide himself, creating copies with Gallery Fake, controlling them with Order Stamp, and attaching Sun and Moon onto copies in order to detonate them. The strategy and tactics being used and how interchangeable the Nen abilities are allows for an air of unpredictability. You can feel Hisoka is really out of his depth during this battle, especially after realizing the position of control that Chrollo has granted himself thanks to his preparations. Hisoka is attacked by copies of audience members who are being controlled by Order Stamp to break Hisoka. He tries to retreat, but they chase after him. While he is distracted, Chrollo in disguise attacks Hisoka from behind. Hisoka is overjoyed by the skill displayed by Chrollo. It makes him feel ecstatic. He is smiling and excited for more. The emotionless copies of the crowd continue to attack Hisoka. He can only stop them by beheading them. While he is preoccupied by the clones, Chrollo continues to opportunistically attack him and hide. He repeats this cold and calculated method of attack in order to land hits on Hisoka. Chrollo creates copies with Gallery Fake and places the Sun and Moon on them so that they won't disappear even if he uses other abilities. Hisoka realizes this after he used Convert Hand to trick Hisoka into attacking a copy of himself that had been controlled by his Black Voice ability. To be able to assess the ever-changing circumstances of the battle highlights how intelligent Hisoka is. It is impressive seeing him trying to counter Chrollo by predicting his next move. Hisoka realizes that Chrollo has been marking his clones with the Sun and Moon and then using Order Stamp to command them to break him. He realizes that before long Chrollo will make maximum powered explosive puppets close in on him and detonate at close range. He fights off a crowd of puppets who are stamped and ordered to break Hisoka, but while he is doing so, the head that he has been holding in his hand to attack with detonates, disintegrating his fingers. Using bungee gum, he runs across the side of the audience stands, but the puppets follow him and are ordered to self-destruct right next to him. A group of puppets ambush him and explode, sending him through the air. He is sent hurtling into a crowd of more explosive puppets. While in mid-air, he asks himself if he is going to die. He smiles as the puppets all charge towards him and cover him in a huge explosion. The next time that we see Hisoka, it is after the match is concluded. He is laying lifeless on the ground and disfigured. Machi stays with him to stitch him up despite him being confirmed to have died by the other members of the troupe. However, aura comes out of Hisoka's body as we realize before he died he placed bungee gum on his heart to resuscitate himself after his death. This is the first time that we see Hisoka defeated and humbled by someone else. He realizes that fighting Chrollo was too much for him. His opponent had the ideal conditions to fight in his favor. Thus, Hisoka carelessly allowed himself to be disadvantaged. He did nothing to have an upper hand prior to battle. His own ignorant reassurance in his abilities led to his downfall. He turned up to the fight without any prior preparations. He then uses bungee gum to stop himself from bleeding and texture surprise to take the parts of his body that were blown off to recreate his missing flesh. He recreates his left hand and leg using a rubber prosthetic and then covers it with texture surprise. He restores himself like nothing had happened. After this experience, Hisoka has a reality check and tells Machi to inform the other spiders that he will no longer pick his battles. He will just kill the troop members on sight without warning. He will not stop until he has killed them all. He makes good on this promise as he immediately kills Shellnark and Kortopi, killing 2 spiders while having 10 left to take care of. In chapter 371, we learn that Hisoka has made his way onto the large transport vessel, the Black Whale, in order to kill the rest of the troop members. We only see a small glimpse of the monster that Hisoka has now become as a result of chasing his desire and being absolutely crushed by it. The stakes are high as the Succession War arc promises to be a grand spectacle. Now that Hisoka is involved, we are sure to see further chaos and madness. We can only speculate what role he will play. I am certain that we will see more of the spiders being taken out, as they are all after Hisoka on a first come first served basis. How he killed 2 spiders after recovering from his fight with Chrollo shows how impatient he has become, and how much more merciless he is. Knowing that he hasn't just been put aside to appear again in a later arc is incredibly exciting. I love knowing that Hisoka will play an active role in this arc. I'm looking forward to whenever Togashi decides to release more chapters. I'm glad that Hisoka was not killed, as he still has so much left to accomplish. His character arc is clearly not over. The changes that we see after his defeat are so brief yet enticing, I can't help but to look forward to seeing Hisoka again. I want to see the extent of his bloodlust now coupled with this change in attitude. The main appeal of Hisoka has always been his sadistic, merciless and cruel actions. He has a charming demeanor which can flip within an instant during battle. This is what makes him so enjoyable to watch whenever he appears in HunterXHunter. For all of the character analysis videos I have done up until this video, the character arcs have always been wrapped up and have a satisfactory conclusion to them. However, Hisoka's journey is not over, and I cannot wait to revisit this character in the future. He is one of my favourite characters to feature within the pages of Shonen Jump. The appeal of his character is so much so that it led to me picking up HunterXHunter and giving the series a chance, after seeing a few videos of him on YouTube. I didn't expect this video to end up being this long, but I really underestimated how dense HunterXHunter is as a story. There is so much to observe and study that I spent most of my time rereading large portions of the story, because it is so hard to put down. I really want to create more HunterXHunter content, so if you love this video and want to see more breakdowns and analysis, then leave a comment under this video and let me know. If you enjoyed this video and would like to see more like it, then please consider supporting my channel on Patreon. I have multiple tiers with rewards including access to an exclusive Discord server, video scripts, as well as being the first to know about unreleased upcoming videos. Thank you for your time, and whatever you choose to contribute I will appreciate, and it will mean a lot to me.